The invitation arrived 3 months before the wedding. Heavy cardstock, elegant calligraphy, the kind of expensive stationery that announced this would be an event with a capital E. Marcus Montenegro and Vivian Ashford request the pleasure of your company at their wedding ceremony at Solana Valley Vineyards. I ran my finger over the embossed lettering and smiled. Solana Valley. My valley. My phone rang almost immediately after the invitation arrived. Marcus, my younger brother. Did you get it? He asked. Just opened it. Congratulations again. Thanks. Listen, about the seating arrangements. He paused. Vivian and I have been working on the chart and we're trying to keep things organized by, social circles. Okay. So we're putting family at the front tables. Vivian's parents, her siblings, mom and dad, Aunt Teresa and Uncle Roberto. The main family. Right. And then friends and colleagues at the middle tables. Vivian's law firm partners, my investment banking team, college friends. I waited for what was coming. We put you at table 12. In the back. With some distant cousins and a few family friends from out of town. The back table. It's just, people in your income bracket. We thought you'd be more comfortable with people in similar situations. I looked around my home office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking 30 acres of my personal vineyard. Awards from the international wine competition lined the shelves. A photograph of me shaking hands with the governor at a tourism industry gala. That's very thoughtful, I said calmly. I knew you'd understand. You've always been so reasonable about this stuff. Not everyone can afford to run with Vivian's crowd, Her friends are all attorneys and executives. It would be awkward. I wouldn't want anyone to feel awkward. Exactly. That's why you're the best, Isabella. No drama, no ego. You just get it. After we hung up, I pulled up the wedding venue contract on my computer. Solana Valley Vineyards, the crown jewel of my properties. 300 acres of premium wine country, a Spanish colonial estate house, award-winning wine production, and event spaces that booked out 2 years in advance. Marcus and Vivian had booked it through my event coordinator, Elena. They had no idea I owned it. They had no idea I owned anything. For the past 7 years, my family had believed I worked as a tasting room attendant at a local winery. They'd expressed concern about my lack of ambition, suggested I go back to school, offered to help me find a real career. I'd smiled and said nothing. In reality, at 25 I'd purchased a failing vineyard with a business loan and every penny I'd saved. I'd spent 3 years learning the wine industry from the ground up. Literally working in tasting rooms, studying viticulture, understanding every aspect of the business. By 28 I owned 4 vineyards. By 32 I owned 17 properties across 3 valleys, with a combined value of approximately $380 million. My wines had won international competitions. My estate was featured in travel magazines. I employed 240 people. And my family thought I poured wine samples for tourists. The 3 months before the wedding passed quickly. I received occasional calls from my mother, asking if I needed help affording a dress for the wedding, offering to pay for my hair and makeup as a gift. That's so sweet, Mom, I'd said. But I've got it covered. Are you sure? I know money is tight for you, sweetheart. I'm sure. 2 weeks before the wedding, Marcus called again. Hey, so Vivian and I were thinking about the gift registry. Okay. We set it up at some pretty high-end stores. Restoration Hardware, Williams-Sonoma, that kind of thing. We know that's probably out of your range, so we wanted to let you know that cash gifts are totally fine. Even small amounts. We're not judging. That's generous of you. We just don't want you to stress about it. Like even $50 or $100 would be appreciated. We know you're doing your best. I made a note in my phone, wedding gift, be creative. I'll figure something out, I assured him. The morning of the wedding arrived with perfect June weather. Sunny, 75 degrees, a light breeze carrying the scent of grapevines through the valley. I dressed in a simple but elegant champagne-colored dress, Valentino, though no one would know unless they checked the label. My jewelry was understated, pearl earrings, a delicate gold bracelet. I drove myself to Solana Valley in my 7-year-old Honda Civic, the car my family thought was my only vehicle. My actual daily driver, a Range Rover, stayed in the garage of my estate house 3 miles away. The vineyard looked spectacular. Elena and her team had transformed the grounds into something magical. White roses everywhere, string lights waiting for sunset, elegant table settings visible through the windows of the pavilion. I parked in the guest lot and walked toward the main building. Staff members I'd worked with for years nodded politely, trained not to acknowledge me as the owner during events. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. I arrived at 3:30, enough time to find my assigned seat. Table 12 was indeed in the very back of the pavilion, partially hidden behind a decorative column. The other seats were empty. Apparently my tablemates hadn't arrived yet. I sat down and waited. My mother found me 10 minutes later. "Isabella. There you are. We were worried you'd gotten lost. Just following the seating chart." She looked around at the back corner table and her expression grew pained. "I'm sorry about this, honey. Marcus and Vivian organized the seating by social groups." "I know," Marcus explained. "It's nothing personal. It's just that Vivian's family and friends are all very successful, very accomplished, and I'm the poor relation who works in a tasting room." "That's not what She stopped. "You understand though, don't you? It would be awkward to seat you with the lawyers and bankers when your situation is different." "Yes, different." She squeezed my hand. "But you look beautiful. That's a lovely dress. Did you rent it?" "Something like that." He smiled relieved. "Well, you should come say hello to Vivian's parents before the ceremony. They've been asking about Marcus's family." I followed her to the cocktail area where guests were gathering. Vivian's parents, Arthur and Margaret Ashford, held court near the bar, dressed in obvious wealth and comfortable authority. "Arthur, Margaret," my mother said, "this is my daughter Isabella." Margaret's smile was polite but distant. "How lovely to meet you. What do you do, dear?" "I work in wine." "Oh, how nice. Are you a sommelier?" "Something like that." "Well, it's certainly a beautiful venue. We were so pleased when Vivian found this place. Though the cost was astronomical. I suppose it's worth it for one's only daughter's wedding." "I'm sure it is," I agreed. Arthur checked his watch. "The ceremony starts in 15 minutes. We should find our seats. We're in the front row naturally." They swept away. My mother gave me an apologetic look. "Don't let them intimidate you, honey. They're used to a certain lifestyle." "I'm not intimidated, Mom." I returned to table 12. My tablemates had finally arrived. 2 distant cousins I barely knew, an elderly couple who were family friends, and a young woman who introduced herself as a childhood neighbor of Vivian's. "I'm surprised I got invited at all," the neighbor whispered. "I haven't talked to Vivian in 10 years. I think I'm here to fill seats." "Same," I said with a smile. The ceremony was beautiful, I had to admit. Marcus looked handsome in his tuxedo, genuinely happy. Vivian was stunning in a custom gown that probably cost more than most people's cars. They exchanged vows under an arbor covered in white roses. The string quartet played perfectly. The vineyard stretched out behind them in the golden afternoon light. Elena had outdone herself with the setup. Every detail was flawless. The officiant pronounced them married. Everyone applauded. The new couple walked back down the aisle beaming. Cocktail hour began immediately. Servers circulated with wine and appetizers. Guests mingled on the terrace overlooking the vineyards. I accepted a glass of wine from a passing server, a 2019 Solana Valley Reserve Pinot Noir. One of my best vintages. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I turned. Elena stood beside me, tablet in hand, looking professional but slightly stressed. "Ms. Montenegro," she said quietly, "I apologize for interrupting, but we have a situation with the wine service." Every conversation within 15 feet stopped. People turned to look. My brother's investment banking colleagues. Vivian's law firm partners. My parents. "Ms. Montenegro," my mother repeated. Elena, realizing her mistake, froze. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the celebration." "It's fine," I said calmly. "What's the situation?" "The bride and groom requested we open bottles from the 2015 vintage for the reception. But that vintage is stored in your private cellar, and I need your authorization to access it." The terrace had gone completely silent. "My private cellar?" I kept my voice neutral, but I could see understanding dawning on Elena's face. She'd just revealed something I'd kept hidden. "Yes, ma'am. The 2015 Reserve Cabernet. It's locked in the estate cellar that only you have access to." Marcus appeared at my elbow. What's she talking about? Isabella, why would you have access to the wine cellar? Elena looked at me panicked. I nodded slightly. Because Ms. Montenegro owns Solana Valley Vineyards, Elena said. I'm her director of operations. I need her permission to open her private reserve collection. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to detonate. Owns. Vivian's voice was shrill. That's impossible. It's not impossible, Elena said, consulting her tablet. Ms. Montenegro purchased this property 7 years ago. She owns this vineyard, the estate house, the production facility, and approximately 2,000 acres throughout the valley. My mother made a sound like she'd been punched. Marcus's face had gone white. This is insane. Isabella works in a tasting room. She drives a beat-up Honda. She lives in a small apartment. I work in multiple tasting rooms, I corrected quietly. All of which I own. And I keep the Honda for sentimental reasons. It was my first car. But... Vivian looked around wildly. We booked this venue through the event coordinator. We paid $60,000 for today. Yes, Elena confirmed. That's the standard rate for a Saturday wedding during peak season. Ms. Montenegro doesn't give family discounts. She believes it's poor business practice. $60,000? Marcus's voice cracked. We paid my sister $60,000 to use her own property and she didn't say anything? You didn't ask, I said simply. You went through the normal booking process. Elena brought me your contract for approval. I signed it like I do for all events. Arthur Ashford pushed through the crowd. Young lady, are you seriously claiming to own this entire vineyard? I'm not claiming anything. I do own it. That's absurd. This property is worth $280 million, I supplied. According to the most recent appraisal. Though that's just Solana Valley. I own 16 other properties in the region with a combined value of approximately $380 million. Margaret gasped. $380 million? Give or take. The market fluctuates. My father finally found his voice. Isabella, what the hell is going on? I own a wine business, Dad. A very successful wine business. But we thought, you said you worked in tasting rooms. I do. My tasting rooms. I believe in understanding every aspect of my business, so I still work the tasting bar at my properties regularly. It helps me stay connected to customers and train staff. Elena was backing away slowly, clearly wishing she could disappear. Ms. Montenegro, about the wine. Open the 2015 reserve. Also bring up 3 cases of the 2017 Chardonnay for the cocktail service. Yes, ma'am. She fled. I turned back to my family. They were all staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Vivian's face had gone from white to red. You let us book our wedding at your vineyard and you charged us full price. Yes. That's cruel. Is it? You went through the standard process. You received standard service. Why should my family relationship affect the business transaction? Because we're family. You seated me at table 12 with distant cousins because I'm in a different income bracket, I pointed out. Clearly you weren't considering family when you made that decision. Marcus was shaking his head. This doesn't make sense. You live in a tiny apartment. You drive an old car. You dress like someone who doesn't need to prove her wealth with expensive displays? I finished. Yes, I do. I prefer to reinvest my money in my business rather than spend it on impressing people. But why didn't you tell us? My mother demanded. When should I have told you, Mom? When you offered to pay for my dress because you assumed I couldn't afford one. When you suggested I go back to school for a real career? When you apologized to Vivian's parents for my situation? She flinched. A new voice cut through the tension. Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Thomas Chin, my chief winemaker, approached with a bottle in his hands. He was in his 60s, one of the most respected vintners in California. Ms. Montenegro, I wanted to confirm, for tonight's reception, should we serve the 2015 Reserve Cabernet or would you prefer the 2016? The 2016 won an international wine competition gold medal last month. The 2015, I said. It pairs better with the menu. Excellent choice. I'll inform the sommelier team. He nodded politely to my family and walked away. That's Thomas Chin, Arthur said faintly. He's legendary in the wine industry. He works for you. For 10 years now. But he's one of the most celebrated winemakers in the country. I know. I recruited him from Napa. Offered him complete creative control and a partnership stake in production decisions. Vivian looked like she might cry. Our whole wedding. This entire day. It's at your venue. With your staff. Drinking your wine. Yes. And it's been beautiful so far. Elena and her team did an excellent job with the setup. How can you be so calm about this? She shrieked. Because nothing has actually changed. You booked a beautiful venue for your wedding. You're getting exactly the service and experience you paid for. The only thing that's different is now you know who owns it. Marcus grabbed my arm. Isabella, this is our wedding day. You're ruining it. I gently removed his hand. I'm not ruining anything. I'm standing here answering questions. You're the one making a scene. We're making a scene? Vivian's voice got higher. You've been lying to us for 7 years. I haven't lied once. You asked what I did, I said I worked in wine. That's true. You assumed I meant as a low-level employee. That's your assumption, not my lie. My mother was crying now. Why would you let us think you were struggling? We worried about you. Did you? Or did you pity me? There's a difference. We wanted to help you. By offering to loan me money for a car? By suggesting I find a husband to support me? By seating me in the back at family events because I didn't fit your image of success? She had no answer. The wedding guests had formed a circle around us now, watching the drama unfold like it was theater. The bartenders had stopped pouring drinks. The servers stood frozen with their trays. Arthur cleared his throat. Perhaps we should all take a breath and discuss this privately. Why? I asked. Everyone here already heard Elena's announcement. They all know I own this place. What's the point of privacy now? Because this is unseemly, he said stiffly. A family matter being aired in public. My family seated me in the back of the pavilion in public. I think that ship has sailed. Vivian turned to Marcus. Do something. This is our wedding. She's ruining everything. What do you want me to do? He shot back. I don't know. Make her leave. Make her. I don't know. I'm not going anywhere, I said calmly. This is my property. If anyone needs to leave, it's you. The threat hung in the air. You wouldn't, Marcus said. You wouldn't kick us out of our own wedding. Wouldn't I? You made it clear I wasn't really welcome. Table 12, remember? That's different. We were just trying to make you comfortable. By hiding me in the back with strangers? We didn't hide you. Then what would you call it? He had no answer. Vivian was fully crying now. Margaret had her arm around her daughter, glaring at me with pure hatred. You are a cruel, vindictive woman, Margaret said. To do this to your own brother on his wedding day. I did nothing. I approved a wedding venue booking like I do every week. You're the ones who made assumptions. You could have told them the truth. And ruined the surprise? I smiled. Where's the fun in that? Elena reappeared at the edge of the crowd. Ms. Montenegro, the reception is scheduled to begin in 15 minutes. Should we proceed as planned? All eyes turned to me. I had the power to end this wedding right now. Cancel the reception, send everyone home, ruin what was supposed to be the happiest day of my brother's life. They knew it. I knew it. Proceed as planned, I said. My brother and his wife paid for a wedding reception. They should get what they paid for. The collective exhale was audible. However, I continued, I will be moving my seat. To where? Marcus asked warily. The family table. Where I should have been seated in the first place. My mother nodded quickly. Of course. Absolutely. We'll make room. And, I added, I'll need to make an announcement before dinner service. Vivian's eyes widened. What kind of announcement? You'll see. 20 minutes later, the guests were seated for dinner. I'd moved to table 1, displacing one of Vivian's cousins to table 12. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The salad course had just been served when I stood up, tapping my wine glass gently to get everyone's attention. The room fell silent. Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Isabella Montenegro, Marcus's sister and owner of Solana Valley Vineyards. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I want to thank you all for being here to celebrate Marcus and Vivian's wedding. As some of you may have heard, there was a small misunderstanding earlier about my relationship to this venue. Nervous laughter. I'd like to clear that up. Yes, I own this property. Yes, Marcus and Vivian booked it through standard channels. And yes, I charged them the full rate. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. However, in the spirit of family celebration, I'd like to announce my wedding gift to the happy couple. I pulled an envelope from my clutch. Marcus, Vivian, this is the deed to the estate cottage on the eastern edge of the property. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, stunning views of the valley. It's yours free and clear. Market value is approximately $2.4 million. The room erupted. Vivian's jaw dropped. Marcus looked like he might faint. Additionally, I'm refunding the $60,000 you paid for today's event. Consider the whole wedding my gift. I walked over and handed the envelope to Marcus. His hands were shaking as he took it. Congratulations, little brother. I hope you'll be very happy. I returned to my seat in silence. For a long moment nobody moved. Then Marcus stood up, tears streaming down his face. Isabella, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Yes, I do. I've been an absolute ass to you. For years. And you just gave us a house. I gave you a wedding gift. That's what sisters do. He crossed the room and hugged me, crying into my shoulder. I'm so sorry. For everything. For how I treated you, for the things I said, for the seating arrangement. Marcus. It's okay. It's not okay. It's never been okay. Vivian approached slowly, her earlier anger replaced with shock and something that might have been shame. I don't understand, she whispered. Why? After everything we said, everything we assumed, why would you give us this? Because despite everything, you're family. And I love my brother. Even when he's being an idiot. Marcus laughed through his tears. The rest of the reception passed in a blur. Guests kept approaching to introduce themselves, to congratulate me on my business success, to taste the wine and praise the venue. My mother didn't leave my side, holding my hand like she was afraid I'd disappear. I'm so proud of you, she kept saying. I'm so sorry we didn't see it. We didn't see you. I know, Mom. How do we fix this? We're fixing it now. Near the end of the night, after the cake was cut and the first dances were done, my father pulled me aside. Your brother told me what you gave them. The cottage, the refund. It's just a wedding gift, Dad. It's $2.5 million worth of property in cash. I can afford it. He shook his head. All these years we thought you were struggling. We worried, we tried to help, we felt sorry for you. And you were building an empire. I was building a business. The empire part was incidental. Why didn't you tell us? I thought about all the answers I could give. The truth was complicated. Because I needed to build something that was entirely mine. Without your opinions, your advice, your expectations. I needed to succeed or fail on my own terms. And you succeeded. Yes. I did. He hugged me. I'm sorry we didn't believe in you. You can believe in me now. Later, as the party wound down and guests began to leave, Marcus found me on the terrace overlooking the vineyards. Quite a day, he said. Quite a day. I really am sorry, Isabella. For all of it. I know. Are we okay? I looked at my little brother. The golden child, the successful investment banker, the one who'd always overshadowed me in our parents' eyes. Yeah, I said. We're okay. He smiled with relief. But Marcus. Yeah. Next time you have a family event, don't seat me in the back. He laughed. Deal. Front row, I promise. I watched the last guests trickle out, watched the staff begin the cleanup, watched the sun finally set over my vineyard. Table 12 sat empty in the back of the pavilion. The broke table. The place where they'd tried to hide me. I'd started the day there, invisible and dismissed. I'd ended it owning the entire valley. And giving my brother a house. Because that's what you do when you're truly successful. You lift others up even when they've tried to push you down. The secret was out now. My family knew who I was. And maybe finally they'd start treating me like I mattered. I raised my glass to the empty table in the back, silently thanking it. After all, it had given me the perfect entrance. And what a revelation it had been.